Hello everybody, I'm Jo Clanfield, the founder of Teach Outdoors, and today I'm talking to Victoria Bays, who is an occupational therapist and a sensory integration practitioner. Hi Vicky.
Hello.
So Vicky, it's quite a mouthful, your job title. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what your job involves?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, firstly, I'm an occupational therapist. So occupational therapists like to understand how people occupy their time, to support them to engage in life's activities, really. And we believe that participation in those activities that are meaningful to you support your well-being. So I've worked as an occupational therapist for 11 years. I've spent all of my career working within mental health, predominantly with individuals who have experienced trauma. And I've worked across the lifespan, so actually with adults, with children. And through my work, I started to become really intrigued about the sensory nature of everyday activities. So, how we use the different senses and how each activity that we might engage in uses different senses. And what I wanted to understand more was the impact on day-to-day activities, and how we can use the senses to support participation, and to increase well-being for individuals. So I'm now an occupational therapist and a sensory integration practitioner. I work in independent practice, working with individuals across the lifespan, and really focusing on using those meaningful activities and the senses to support well-being.
Fantastic, thank you. So actually for us as educators and teachers in classroom, I think it's really interesting that you kind of say it's about well-being and actually getting them to participate, because that's one of our main things. We know that if children are happy and involved, then they're going to make real progress. So kind of what you're saying really makes sense to me. So one of the reasons I invited Vicky along today was to discuss the training she's leading for us, and it's called A Sensory Lens of Attachment and Trauma and the Benefits of Learning Outside. Again, I was looking at this title and it's quite an in-depth training title. So can you just give us a little summary of what the training is about, please, Vicky?
Yeah, so the training will give a bit of an overview of the senses. So what we understand by the senses when we're talking about sensory processing. And also an understanding of what we mean by trauma, because I think that there's sometimes different perspectives. And I think we're just starting to build our understanding of trauma and really understand what it is and the impact that it has for individuals. So the training will delve a little bit more into how the senses are involved in trauma. So actually, why children who have experienced trauma may present the way that they do, and we use a sensory lens to understand that. So we actually start to delve down a bit more into sort of brain development and early life development, really, to just start to understand what's going on for somebody who might have experienced trauma. And I think the important thing to think about is that the I suppose in building this understanding, we can better learn how to have the best approach, really, and how to support these children that we're working with, and exactly like you say, to then help to improve their well-being, so that they're happier in the classroom, so that they're more settled in the classroom, and so that we can support them to access academic learning.
Fantastic, brilliant. So who would you say the training is aimed at? I know you've kind of already said it in a way, but who is it aimed at supporting, and who will really benefit from this training?
Yeah, so I actually think that the training would probably benefit anyone within the classroom, and within schools. I think teachers, TAs, Senkos, I think anyone that wants to start their journey of understanding trauma, from that sensory perspective, and really starting to build their knowledge, and with a desire to want to I suppose, implement the right strategies and the right support for those children that they're working with. And when we're talking about, it's not necessarily just children that have experienced trauma. We're looking at how those children have responded to that trauma. So actually the types of behaviours that we might see, it might be the children who are always on the go, that you really struggle to settle and in the classroom, outside to really engage with the learning. It might be the children that seem quite unaware of their surroundings quite aware of their surroundings to the point that they seem distracted. And actually, from that perspective, again, you're really struggling to get them to focus and to engage. It could be those children who really avoid situations and back off and really find it difficult to become involved in different learning activities. And also some children may seem quite unaware or not present. And with that, you might have tried the usual methods that you would try to really build that level of engagement for those children. And actually, it's just perhaps not working. It's not, and so what you want to do is really understand what's going on for them a little bit more, start to build that understanding, and then find the right strategies that will support them to engage.
And actually, I think that's really important, because so often as teachers, we're in that classroom environment and we do have those children that we struggle to kind of keep on task, to focus, because they're kind of like the million-mile-an-hour children. They're always on the go, and it's always bringing them back, or they've got something that seems a bit more important. So yeah, that would be brilliant for me as a teacher in a classroom. That's brilliant. And actually, I'm presuming that then outdoors kind of plays a massive part of this as well. So how to support them, and that would also be involved in it.
Absolutely. And I think that we can really maximise outdoor learning to really support these children. I think that that's a key strategy, really. I think a lot of these children are working harder day to day. I think they're, day-to-day activities, day-to-day learning becomes more difficult. So actually for them, just being seated in a classroom for a prolonged period of time can be enough without the added, extra of the academic learning that you're trying to engage them in. So what we're trying to do is look at how we can support these children to regulate. And actually outdoors environments are fantastic environments to really support them, to regulate the senses, to regulate their level of arousal, so that then they can then engage in that academic learning. So yeah, I think we can really look at how we can use outdoor learning spaces to support these children, and ultimately to support them to access the curriculum, and to access that academic learning.
Yeah, and I think from being outside with children all the time, that's exactly what I see. Not that I've always understood what's kind of naturally happened and how I'm supporting them, but again, as a teacher, I think it's really, if you unpick it all and you understand why those behaviours are happening and how to support them, and how to actually utilise the outdoor space that you have, which most schools have, even if it's a playground. Actually, for me, that's a really good strategy that's quite easy, just to adapt what I was already doing. So yeah, so that sounds really interesting. So I actually can't wait for this training. So if which I'm definitely attending the training myself, when I do, what are the key takeaways that I'll be able to kind of take away and go away with?
Yeah, so I think firstly, and I think most importantly, is an understanding of trauma and the impact on the senses. I think that's, you know, like I said earlier on, an understanding of what those things are. And I think sometimes that can be very much the starting point. I think the other thing is to understand more how we can support some of those children with those types of, how they present with those sorts of behaviours that we've just talked about. I think we can look at ways of different strategies that would involve using outdoor learning spaces of ways that might be the right way, the right approach to supporting these children. And yeah, ultimately, I think it's the understanding and the strategies to support. I think they're key, really, takeaways from this training.
Brilliant. Well, it sounds very exciting. I definitely can't wait for it. So I hope that you join us and Vicky, and you find out lots more about how to support children who may have experienced trauma through a sensory lens and outdoor learning. Thank you very much, Vicky. We'll see you all soon.